Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a minute, sorry, but yeah, life has been lifing, but in a good way, not in a negative way. And yeah, I know I owe you guys a lot more content than I've been given, but here I am, I'm here, and that's all that matters. For those of you who are watching for the first time, I'm Olivia Xx. I'm a marketer, I'm a lifestyle blogger, and also a strategist as well. So my channel is a mix and blend. We've got some marketing, career content, and then also we have some fashion and lifestyle. That's what I'm about, and I want to make sure I'm bringing my authentic self to you. And today we're going to get into a bit of a interesting topic that I've been dying to talk about. This one is related to careers, and it is more about what's going on in the world right now, and I think it's so important to talk about and discuss. So I hope you guys will comment and we can really chop it up, because I really want to hear from you guys and understand if this is something you're feeling, as well as myself and other people, peers and colleagues I've spoken to. So let's get right into it, and yeah, let's delve in. So the topic, we're going to talk about the Great Resignation, which is happening all over the world. I know that title and term was coined in the US, but over here in the UK we're using it too. And it's a big topic, and I really wanted to talk about it because it really speaks to my generation, millennials, Gen Zs, and also Gen Alphas, who are specifically the generation just above me. There's been a big change. We all know we went through the pandemic, a lot of stuff happened personally and professionally for so many people. And one thing that has happened is there's just been a big pivot just in everyone's life. In my life personally, pertaining to career wise, like so much has changed, and I think it's so important to talk about, and I think I want to talk about it. So here we are. So I just want to bring up a little fact just so we can just really deep what is like happening, and basically showed that between the ages of 16 to 65, there's been a great dip in terms of professionals who've resigned from their jobs. As you guys know, I work in marketing, I'm a marketer. I've transitioned from fashion PR, retail, e-commerce into the tech industry, and that's happened over the course of 8 to 10 years. So that's been my journey. And in my first video that made me launch YouTube was actually to talk about my career. And one of the reasons is because I personally made a big change as well. I completely left working in fashion and I transitioned to work for like tech, e-commerce, social businesses. So of course I'm a fashion blogger, so I blog fashion anyway. And I think the only way to talk about the Great Resignation is for me to talk about my experience first and share the reasons on why I pivoted and what I'm looking for in my career next, and hope it allows others to really think about when they're deciding to quit their job or change and make that drastic change, what are the reasons to, and just a few things to think about, because it's so important. Because the Great Resignation is happening. I think it's going to continue to happen over the next year or two until we kind of come out of this post-pandemic recession era and everyone settles again. But it's happening, and if you are feeling this way and having any feelings that I share in this video, just know that you're not alone. It's a real thing, and it's so interesting because I thought it's just me, like, why do I feel so unsettled? Why am I not at peace in terms of my career? I know I've achieved a lot, but at the end of the day, the shift is happening for a reason, and in life so many stuff changes, so we just have to adapt with it. So my story, as you guys know, I left a job that I was doing for just over 2 years and pivoted and got an opportunity to join the TikTok, and I joined the business to work on their e-commerce side of the business, launching their campaigns for TikTok Shop, which is involving all their live stream and short video content. So if you are on TikTok and you're seeing live streams and short videos, it will probably center around some of the stuff that I do. So that is completely different for me, because my background is working for British retailers, coming up with cool, compelling campaigns to sell fashion and clothing, women's wear, men's wear, and the family, right? I've always loved fashion, that's been my love. But I guess after 8 years or so, I just felt so unfulfilled, and I couldn't even think why. And I guess one of the main things is the pandemic. Like, we sat at home for 2 years straight working, if you had the privilege to still work, or even if you were furloughed, right? And you felt the change. Obviously, so many people dealt with devastating devastating losses in their families. And just, I think a blessing came out of the pandemic because we were all forced to sit still. And if you think about life before the pandemic, we were going in the office 5 days a week, going to jobs, getting on the train. It was just such a constant robotic cycle. The pandemic happened, and then we had to sit down. And for me, I realized sitting still, it made me think about the stuff I like to do, what I like to consume my time with, and what I don't want to do. And I think that was like the first like aha moment. So when we were slowly coming out of the pandemic and starting to be outside and start to work again, in the manner that we were in terms of going back to the office, I felt like, okay, we're going into, what was it, 2021? I was like, what do I want for myself? Like, we've just had this crazy year or two, and we're slowly starting to come out, and I'm just gonna go back and do the same thing. Like, no. And I think it's a mixture of that and also turning 30. And I definitely think there should be a video on what happens to you when you turn 30. But I felt like I'm stepping into my 30s now. I've spent my 20s doing different jobs, having different experiences. I've learned so much, good and bad, and I've enjoyed the process. But I feel like in my 30s, I really want to cement who I want to be in terms of a career woman and set the precedent for the life that I want to have in my 30s. And I felt the company that I was at was not suitable for that. Even though I'm super grateful for the experiences, you know, everything has a phase, and I knew the company I was at wasn't long term, it was just short term. So I was aware of that, and I was on a contract at the time anyway, so it was going to come to an end. But I was figuring out, where do I want to go after it comes to an end? Do I still want to stay in fashion? Do I want to stay in retail? Or do I want to change? And I went back and forth for time, and I think that's one of the questions you have to ask yourself, like where you are right now in this phase, in the living room, in my apartment, what do I want to do? And it was actually the pandemic that forced us to think these things and have these sort of questions, because before you just kind of roll with the punches, like whatever job's on the table, whatever's going on. And I felt like I really want to command my life and not leave up my destiny to other people, such as employers. I want to take my career by the balls, basically, and do what I want to do. And that's just that. So I had to kind of take a step back and figure out, what do I want to do? Do I want to stay in fashion? Do I want to continue doing fashion as a side hustle, but then spread my wings in terms of a marketer and delving into different sectors? So I have such a better holistic insight in terms of what marketing is and what that is today, because it's definitely different than how it was 5 years ago. Okay, so I had to really ask myself that, and that was a big thing. So a second thing that I asked myself was also about money, salary, like how we eat, how we live in is money, right? And it's like, I was blessed that I wasn't furloughed during the pandemic and I was working, so I continued to receive my salary. So I know I'm super grateful, because that wasn't everyone's story. However, I do think it's important for you to think about where you are in your career, like life cycle, and the understanding what the salary is in the market, and making sure that you're getting the best package for yourself. That was another kind of aha moment for me too. I've been in the game for, you know, quite a bit. I interned, I did the rounds, I did the work, and to be honest, to toot my own horn, which I never really do, I know my shit. Okay, I really do. And I feel like sometimes when you're working for employers and you're doing the same thing, yeah, you might get a pat on the back, you'll get a reward, but the whole package and what you're working for versus the investment, the value that you're offering isn't enough. I'm just gonna keep it a buck, okay? It's not enough. And I personally felt that. Like, I've been in the industry for a long time. In my job at the time, I took on more markets, so I was doing more work, and I was being paid the same, to be quite transparent with you guys. And I knew my worth, and I knew I deserved more. So that was another thing. And the thing is, at my company, obviously you put the feelers out there to understand what more can they do, not just asking for more money, but understand this is a scope and this is the territories I look after, based on, you know, looking at my review when it was time to have my annual review, making sure I put the feelers out there in terms of what does the next step look like. And basically there was no next step, so I knew I had to bounce. So again, that was another kind of like aha moment, like realizing that this place cannot offer me anything more than what I've done. So I need to make sure the next step I, take in my career is a new job, a new challenge, but then also a package that matches my value. And I think that's definitely something to think about. So that was a number 2 for me. And a number 3 also was culture and environment. As I've repeated myself constantly, we were in a pandemic. So so much happened that we had to deal with. The Black Lives Matter movement, specifically, which was triggered by George Floyd, God rest his soul. And then that, sparked off the injustice that Black people receive across the board, which also sparked off the injustice we see as Black employees within companies and businesses. And my experience, I'm in the creative industry. Even though it's creative, we still all work for corporate entities. So the experiences might not be exactly the same, but it's all similar, really. And that's another thing. Did I felt like as a Black employee, I was being valued the same as others? No. Okay, I'm just gonna keep it honest with you. And it's just that was frustrating, and I was like, I'm gonna come out of the pandemic, go into the same industry in the same job that made me feel the way I felt. No. And that was another thing. I really wanted to be a part of somewhere that was inclusive, and not just inclusive hey, when they see you, that's whatever, that's just being polite. It doesn't mean inclusive. And I think that's something to make sure you're aware of, making sure you see people like you, see people in the same age group as you, and you see people that have senior roles that are not always just 50 plus. Hello, if you're good at what you do, it doesn't matter what age you are, you should be able to do it. So it was just all of these different nuances that was so frustrated from a cultural perspective that I was over, being at all these corporate entities in the creative industry and just seeing white man, white female, and that's it, especially in senior position, not Asian, not Black, or any other minorities in these positions. And it's jarring. You've been doing your stuff, especially a role like mine as marketing. This is something I do in my personal life with Life of a Marketing Girl. This is, work that I research, I talk about on my social channels. So it's not just a 9 to 5 to me and then I dip and then I go and do something different. This is a career that I chose that was part of my lifestyle. So just think how suffocating it is when you're in a career that is just not your job, it's a part of your life, but you still don't see people like you doing something similar. Jarring, over it. So these were one of the three things that was just yeah, I need to shift. And I do think it's also a lot of the reasons why a lot of people are changing jobs. Nothing is guaranteed. Before the pandemic, especially when I would speak to my dad, we'll talk about pensions, all these other things that we need to make sure that we get hold of when, we're going for a job, a full-time job. But the pandemic happened, loads of people lost their jobs because there was no money circulating for businesses. They had to save themselves, so you were cut loose and collateral damage. So what's safe? What is safe anymore? In 2022, what is safe? What is job security? Question mark. Let me know, because I'm still trying to figure that out. There is no such thing. Now we're in a whole life now beyond this that will have more pandemics, unfortunately. So there is no security, and the world had to shift and adapt based on this huge example brought by COVID-19. So the thing is, you have to live now, because you don't know what's going to happen. If another pandemic happens next year, and I'm cut from a job, for example, I want to make sure that at least I'm doing a job that I wanted to do. So at least you learn new skills and then you can shift and adapt. There's no security anymore. There's no working for a company for 30, 35 years plus. You get a pension and then you sit like kushti. I can't even get those words out, but you know what I mean. So it's do what you want to do now. If you're not feeling something, change. What is the worst that's going to happen? I think across the world, we've all experienced the worst that's going to happen. Life is short. People have unfortunately passed on. And a pandemic that hit, and the companies that they work for, they'll send a company-wide email and they recruit again. We're replaceable. So when you come to these companies, the mindset should be as we should come as a partnership. So of course, you tell me what my role is, what I'm meant to do, what my remit is. I do that work. In exchange, I get a salary and a pay package for that, right? So my thing is, there's no such thing as job security anymore. Do what you want to do. jump to the next job. Like, I feel like the pandemic has enabled us as citizens to be fearless, because we've kind of seen what the worst things can happen in the workplace. You get furloughed, you stay, or you get fired. And people have been able to bounce back, change their careers, or they've started their own businesses, which is actually probably something they may not have even thought about. So how amazing is that? I feel like the world is our oyster. We're going back into the world again, and the Great Resignation is happening. How many businesses have been built based on the pandemic? I know so many businesses struggled and died, but so many businesses were birthed and are thriving. So what does that show you? Like, anything can happen in this life. Through good, bad can come out of it. Through bad, good can come out of it. It's just the yin and yang of life, and it's just about finding that balance and what works for you. And I think one of the most important things that came out of the pandemic for me is I want to be fearless. I don't want to be fearful. I don't want to care what people think, which is one of the reasons I started YouTube. I'm just like, F it. I have this insight and expertise, being in the industry for 10 years, and I want to share that with young women specifically, specifically Black women of minorities who want to get into marketing, creative or fashion marketing, and don't really know the do's and the don'ts. Why don't I share that? So yeah, be fearless, guys. Put yourself out there. Like, the Great Resignation is happening. It's here, and I feel like companies also are learning to adapt as well, because if you think about it, you have to be in the office 5 days a week, 9 to 5. It's such a rigid structure, but because of the pandemic, we had to change and pivot so the world can continue to move on while people were safe in their homes. So businesses have realized the power of being hybrid, trusting your staff, and knowing that when they work from home, they're going to do their jobs. Like, regardless, you're either going to do your job or you're not, whether you work from the office or you work from home. So if you're paying credible employees to do the job, trust that wherever they are, they're going to fulfill the job. And I think that's what's important. Allowing your employees to feel empowered with the work that you've given them to do, that's what creates longevity. And I feel like the working world completely lost that. It's like, do this by this time, you have to report to me. And it's just like, I'm a human being, we're not robots, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, whatever work field you're in, but specifically I know from a marketing perspective, we have to deal with people. That's the main aspect of our role, building relationships, networking, and retaining those relationships to make big projects happen and happen really well. You have to trust each other. So it's just like, there's no point being in a workforce where your employee, your team leader, whoever is, don't trust you. Like, you're not going to feel well equipped to do your job. You want to feel empowered to make sure, do you know what, leave it to me, I'm going to make this happen. And in return, you give them an amazing piece of work. Like, how amazing is that? How empowering is that? And it makes you feel inspired, makes you feel confident, and keeps you creative. So I feel like businesses have learned to trust their employees, which is now allowing hybrid working, a few days in the office, a few days at home, and just being agile to change. Like, if I've got a doctor's appointment, I don't need to tell you. I'll let you know, like, I'm signing off because I've got a doctor's appointment, I'll be online this time. That's it. Trust your employees to do the work that they're supposed to do. And I feel like that's been another part of the Great Resignation. You've been at a place where so rigid, doesn't allow for change, a lot of red tape, and you're aware that there's other companies that, allow you to have flexibility, pick up your child from school if that's something that you have to do. You have a side hustle like myself and you need to create content for an event, so you might have to leave early. They're cool with that. As long as you get your work done and deliver it to the best standard, they're good. That's another thing. So it's like, why would I stay somewhere that's rigid and a bit more controlling instead of going somewhere else that allows flexibility and I can still do the work that I enjoy? Ding ding, time to change. So it's just a lot of things that I feel like, especially for people who are looking for jobs right now, I know there is a demand to get in. I know you just want to get your foot in the door, but make sure you're thinking about these things. Pay package for the work that you're doing, the insight that you have, and the value that you're offering. Are you being rewarded with the right pay package? Always look at the market, look at other jobs, look at other industries, just to make sure it's a fair and competitive rate. Is the company flexible, agile? Is it, and are you okay with that? Do you want to be in the office every day? Do you want a job that's 100% remote, or you don't mind the hybrid working, which is a couple of days in the office and a couple of days at home, or 3 you want a job that aligns with who you are. I think that's so important. You want to do a job where you feel valued and it's the right culture for you. And you feel like if you want a job that you want to do cool shit, find a company that you want to do cool shit at. And it's just like, obviously understand there's corporate elements that you have to be aware of and fulfill, but at least the majority of your role, you're doing something that you're passionate about, that you enjoy. Especially in marketing, we have the privilege to tap into the culture, whether that's fashion, music, food, wherever it is. Make sure that you are in a role that's allowing you to do that. I find it interesting that a lot of employees advertise these cool roles you get in, and it ain't that. It's a typical traditional marketing role where you're doing specific online advertising, out of home advertising, and social, where you want to tap into influencers, ambassadors, subcultures, tastemakers, and build together cool narratives to deliver a great message. And I know that's so important, especially for millennial and Gen Z marketers who are tapped into the culture, and not like, sorry to say it, but old 50+ marketers who just think, oh, that's a good idea because I saw it on the show, but they don't live it. It's like, that ain't it no more, okay? So, and that's why the Great Resignation is happening, because a lot of the seniority haven't really shifted with the times, but the people that they're hiring have, but they're not given the room to fulfill the jobs that they want to do. So this is why the Great Resignation is happening. This is one of the reasons why I changed. And one thing I've realized is, don't be afraid, change again. Like, if I don't like my job, I'm changing it, and there's no two ways about it. Obviously, be aware of what constant change looks like and how that's going to be a reflection on you. However, don't be afraid. Like, I'm sorry, there's always someone that will want to hire you, and always remember that. But yeah, this is what I really wanted to talk about. So guys, it was a bit of a ramble, it was a bit of a rant, but I think it's important because it's out there, it's happening, it's a lot in the news. But I feel like, from a fellow career person, a marketer who's in the industry, who also works 9 to 5, I really wanted to bring it to light because it's happening. And I want to make sure that those who are looking for jobs, and to think about your pay package, as I've mentioned, the culture, and also making sure it's the right job for you in terms of being agile and working with your life and your lifestyle. I think that's so important, because a lot of the ways and how the market is not the same anymore, and it's making sure that you shift in the same way. So I hope. Hi guys, so that's the video for today. A bit of a rant, but I hope you were with me in this one. Really talking about the Great Resignation, why I pivoted jobs, a lot of the reasons why a lot of people are changing jobs. At the end of the day, the world is our oyster. Go out there and get what's yours, get the career that you deserve, get the pay package that reflects your value, your offerings, so you can live your best life. We have one life, and it's so important that regardless of what you choose to do within your jobs, that you're making sure that you're doing a job that you're happy with, that you're at peace with, and that's what matters, because one life I feel live. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it insightful, and helped you. Make sure you guys leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. I promise guys, I'm going to be more consistent. I'm really excited about this journey that you guys are on with me, and hopefully I can share more about my life, my career, what I've been doing, and give that advice back to you guys. So make sure you guys like, subscribe to Olivia Gold. We're here to stay. And up next, I'm actually going back and giving you a fashion haul. So I've been shopping a bit, but I hope you guys like it. I'm keeping it super simple, taking you through really great outfits that I picked and how you can style them. So go over and check that out, okay? See you guys soon. Bye.